Hello, folks. This is Dave. I'm coming to you on Mother's Day, although I'm posting it in the evening, and so probably you're not going to make it to for anybody to see on Mother's Day. So should have done this earlier. Should have thought about this earlier. But I was talking to my wife earlier today, and about I need to make a video. I haven't done one for a while. She said, "Oh, maybe I ought to do one on Mother's Day." And I did one year ago about my mother and how she supported me in my card collecting. And two things. One is that, of course, she let me buy cards when I was younger. And as I explained last year in my video, I'll put a link to it down below just in case anybody has a burning desire to see that video. But I went to the grocery store with her, and she allowed me to pick cards off the back of boxes of post serial cards. And so, just a few examples. I mentioned that I've got over 180 cards, so that's a lot of post toasties, cornflakes, grape nuts, other things. But so these are cards from 1961, 62, and 63 that I still have in my collection. And the other thing I thanked her for, although she is no longer with us, is that she didn't throw my cards away when I was younger. But as my wife mentioned or suggested that I do a story on mothers in baseball, I immediately thought of a story that I hinted at last year, and maybe I'll just go into a little bit more depth here so I'm not repeating myself too much. The story I want to tell is about a woman, Helen Callaghan, who played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League in the 1940s. And Helen was one of the better players. She actually led the league in hitting one year, and she also played with her sister, Margie Callaghan. And sisters playing in that professional baseball league is probably somewhat familiar. And I have an article by Helen's son, Kelly Candaele, how he had made a documentary in 1989 called A League of Their Own, which was aired on PBS and later was picked up by Penny Marshall, who was the film director, and they turned it into a Hollywood video in 1992 by Columbia Pictures, and we know it had the same name, A League of Their Own, and roughly based on the Callaghan sisters. Helen Callaghan was roughly had a bunch of her characteristics in the role that Gina Davis played, although Helen was an outfielder. But what I wanted to tell you was Helen Candaele and her son, Casey, are the only mother and son professional baseball players. Actually, Helen started her playing career with the Minneapolis Millerettes in 1944, and they didn't draw very well because they were competing with the local minor league team. And so in 1945, 1946, and 1947, the franchise was moved to Fort Wayne and played as the Fort Wayne Daisies. And she sat out the 1947 season, giving birth to the oldest Candaele brother. But what I wanted to do is maybe just read a couple of things here to kind of give you a flavor of who Helen Callaghan was and how she interacted with her sons. Let me just read just a couple things from this article. Quoting, "She didn't throw like a girl. I have no knowledge of whether there was any anatomical differences in arms and shoulders of men and women that would account for that fact that most girls I knew grew up, flung the ball rather than threw it." And he went on to say that that may be sexist and politically incorrect or just plain ignorant. He wrote this article 23 years ago, so maybe forgive him a little bit. But let me go on to read about his experience with his mom and baseball. "Playing catch with my mom as a little leaguer was humbling. She was better at it than I was, much better. I don't remember her talking much as we threw the ball back and forth, her with a large left-handed outfielder's glove that she seemed to wear at the end of her fingers. I just remember the easy rhythm of exchange and the sense of security and serenity I felt knowing that she could handle anything I threw at her. If there is a more iconic image than a father playing catch with a son, I don't know of it. The associations are a bonding and teaching and passing on of esoteric knowledge and the preservation of a national tradition. The actual experience, however, in my random observations, are at least anecdotally valid, is often one of hectoring, performance pressure, and frustration. But playing with my mom was about reciprocity and trust. It was a calming experience." He goes on to tell about where they lived in Lompoc, California, was they yearly had a powder puff game where the mothers of the little leaguers played with the little leaguers in a game. And it was kind of a joke. The fathers would stand around and watch the women, as he said, jiggling and stumbling around the bases. All of them, that is, except my mom. Let me go on to tell his experience. "She invariably put on a display of hitting, running, throwing, and catching that left the men watching slack-jawed, and me and my brothers proud. Out of the corner of my eye, I would watch the fathers of the other kids when she came to the plate, knowing that she would hammer the ball somewhere and be off like a gazelle. She was proud of herself and just a tad cocky, placing the bat over the plate to measure her stance, scraping the dirt with her shoes to dig in, tugging at her shirt just like big leaguers. When the game mercifully ended, kids and their parents would gather around and ask the same question every year: 'Where did your mom learn to play baseball?' I always answered quickly and with a sly smile, 'She played professional baseball in the 40s. You mean softball?' They'd say, 'No, I mean hardball, overhand, stealing, sliding, real baseball.'" That was Helen Callaghan. One of her sons, Casey Candaele, actually grew up to be a major leaguer. Casey spent 9 years in the major leagues, broke in with Montreal, as you can see there on his card, later played with the Astros and later with Cleveland. That is my Mother's Day tribute to the Callaghans and Casey Candaele. Helen actually led the league one year in hitting about 299, I think, which was about 100 points better than the league average. That's it, my story about mother and son, and just wanted to express thanks and love to my mother, who always supported me in everything that I did, from Little League days to my card habit to watching me play high school football. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Y'all come back now.